Yeah, we at NASA use an infinite amount of management models and how we work things, and you see a big variation in people's success, which is very much tied to the organization model, but mostly how people are delegated authority and responsibility. We at NASA tend to delegate responsibility, and we tend to retain authority, whereas other areas, military is one example, will delegate authority and retain responsibility. For Ares 1X, I was delegated both responsibility and authority for providing this vehicle to fly, when we're supposed to go fly. And we by doing that, by giving me the authority to make decisions at my level, we were able to make decisions very quickly. We didn't need to go through and just ask everyone and their brother and sister whether it was the right thing to go do. We said, we're making the decision today, and we're pressing on. The way that worked, the reason that worked, is we relied upon NASA's governance model, the fact that we have this technical authority paths within the NASA governance model. So if there was an objectionable decision, if I made a decision that we're not going to do this, we're going to build this at a factor of safety of 1.0 instead of 2, and that was the right programmatic thing to do. I thought the risk was acceptable, it was a good schedule, budget, et cetera, answer. But our chief engineer said, that's crazy, I cannot support that. And we had our chief engineer's dissent on decisions that I made. In some cases, they had the right, and they did with the metallic tape issue through Lockheed Martin, and they did for some other areas about cable testing. They elevated it to the board above me, the main Constellation Control Board. So this is one that I just can't live with. We need a hearing. We basically need an appeals route to go through. And having that structure in place, that the 1X manager could make the decisions, but there was also this appeals route, really made it a whole lot easier. People didn't feel like that I was going to just force an answer no matter what consequences. But people also realized that I had authority from Jeff Hanley, the Constellation Program Manager, to make these decisions. It wasn't a mother may I. There wasn't another forum to go to. You see other implementations where the project manager can make these decisions and then go back to the level above him and just kind of status or say, okay, here's what I did, looking for concurrence. Once you do that, you're basically just cutting your hands off. There's nothing you can really do. People know there's another path that's going to happen anyways. So people are smart. They'll figure out who the real decision maker is, and they'll concentrate their energies on that. So by delegating the authority to me, Jeff still retained responsibility for the program and for risk, but he allowed me to make some of those risk trades and say what's acceptable or what's not. And I would status him, I would educate him. Once a month I'd say, here's what we decided, here's what we did this, we decided not to go do this. He would say, well, was there consensus? And sometimes I'd say yes, sometimes I'd say no. There was not complete consensus. We had so and so and so and so disagree, but they were able to live with the decision, and we pressed on. Or no, they really disagree, and they're coming to the control board, the Constellation Control Board next week, and we're going to talk about it and see if you want to, affirm the decision I made or overrule me. And it happened only 2 or 3 times, which to me is a testament of how it all worked out. And once or twice he did overrule the decision I made, and we pressed on. And a couple times he affirmed the decision I made and pressed on. So authority of the project manager is key. Having an appeal route so people don't think it's a dictatorial approach makes everyone feel comfortable that they can disagree with you. And if you still don't listen to them or don't understand and say, no, I'm going to do this anyways, they can do something about it if they think it's worthwhile.
The good part of that is that it did give us that autonomy. The not so good part of it is we reviewed at times by the mainline team as being out on an island, out doing our own thing, and that we were getting too far away from the mainline vehicle. So if there's a lesson in that, the next time we do a test flight, obviously the next test bird will look more like the mainline vehicle. It will have to, right? Or it would be a worthless test. We'll have potentially a 5-segment booster. We may have a more active upper stage. We may have more mainline vehicle avionics. So what that means is we can't be as far out on that island the next time. We've got to be more aligned with the mainline program. That's good, but then it gets back on the other thing that helped us on 1X where we had a lot of autonomy. So as we do more test flights and become closer to an Ares 1 configuration, we lose the autonomy, but we get closer in with the mainline.
I think the program manager gave our mission manager all that responsibility and authority. There were very, very few occasions, I can probably only think of 2 or 3, where the independent technical authority would come through and question our mission manager's responsibility and authority. And that's good. You do have that appeal route, and I'm glad we have that. But what that sets the bit for everybody else is they know when they go to the mission manager, they're going to get the decision, unless it is just such an anathema to people that they can't live with that. So that worked out perfectly for us. So that's a big one. You give the people, each of the IPT guys as well as the mission manager, you give them the responsibility and the authority within the scope of their job to go get that done. And when you do that, you see brand new rockets being designed, built, and launched within 3.5 years versus 6 to 10 years.